My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Noonas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And, we're sexy, you're sexy. We may not know you anymore, but that's okay, because you know who we do know today? That is the main man of the hour, Eric Nam, who we're here to talk about, because, there's many reasons why we're talking about him. One, we like him.
Yeah, we do.
Easy peasy. That's a pretty easy way to do it, but also, too, he's currently on tour. And, killing it, really. And some of us maybe have seen him already, maybe going to be seeing him.
Maybe I have seen him already, who knows?
Maybe 2 days ago before recording this, Jessie saw him. Maybe. I'm supposed to go see him next weekend, tickets pending, but maybe. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe. Who knows? But we're gonna do a little thing about Eric Nam, because if you have any sort of familiarity with any sort of variety or K-pop talk show coming out of Korea, even if you don't know his name, you've seen Eric Nam, okay? He's literally
or even if
everywhere.
You're just sitting there watching some random service, and then you see a commercial for Visit Korea, you might see him.
There he is. There's the Nam. And he's so prolific that you just can't help but encounter Eric.
Would we actually like to talk really quickly about where each of us first encountered, remember encountering him, as far as
So, yes, I know that I encountered him before this, alright? I just need to say that I know I encountered him before this, but consciously encountering him was several years ago when Jessie, Sky, and I were all watching K-Con, the online K-Con together. And he was the host. And we were all just and I know that I had seen him before, because all of us were like, "Oh, Eric Nam's hosting. We love Eric Nam. He's so much fun." But in my mind, I said, "Yeah, I love Eric Nam. He's so much fun," because I clearly had seen him somewhere before, but my brain wasn't get. But this is where I remember just distinctly being like, "Oh yeah, Eric Nam. I love that guy." Mm-hmm. And then the next year, he wasn't hosting.
That's right.
And then the three of us were like, you know what would have made this so much better? Eric Nam.
Everything better.
That's not to say that the new host was bad, but they weren't Nam.
They weren't Eric Nam.
Yeah, they were Nam. I mean, let's be real. Let's be honest.
I think we even said that. We're like, man, this new guy's really great, but he's not Eric Nam. We just want Eric Nam.
I think we couldn't get over it. Usually we just say that in passing and move on.
No,
we never moved on.
It was every 5 minutes
they never moved on.
Nam?
They're
we're still talking about it, and that was years. That was years ago.
I think also we were because it was all about kind of the interviews for the online KCON. Mm-hmm. And we were I think the first one we watched together, we were like, okay, maybe he just wasn't on that one.
So then
we're
maybe the next interview he'll be here. Maybe the next one, and the next person there, we're like, I don't think Eric Nam's gonna be here.
We were so upset.
we were like, damn it, we really wanted to see Eric Nam. And so when I say that, I know that's not the first time, because as I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, I love Eric Nam. I'm so glad they got Eric Nam for this. But do I have any conscious memory of previous to that being yes, Eric Nam, like him? No, my brain is just that it's he's always been there.
Right? Yes.
My brain
always
realized
he's just a fixture.
I'm the same. When I think about it, I think about his album Honestly, which was one of the first K-pop albums that I bought digitally, but whatever, right? And I love that album, and I listen to it constantly. Mm-hmm. But I remember it coming out because I already followed him on Twitter. He was just there in my world, in my sphere. And it's we made jokes about, because he'd be like, honestly, my album coming out next week. And we're like, is it? are you sure? Like, because everything was honestly, right? And you're like, but like,
no,
you
like,
already knew
he
his
just always
I already knew who he was. Like, so I don't know how.
I think we all just got incepted with Eric Nam at some point.
Well, I definitely got incepted, but a different way. Like, I do kind of remember, not like the exact, but like how I got to Eric Nam. Because I was a fan of FX. Like, that was one of my first groups. And one of the members is Amber. Amber is also an American. She's English speaking. And, like, during, like, I can't even remember the years, but she was one of the first K-pop idols to start doing YouTube stuff. Yeah. So she was heavily on YouTube. She was doing like her own personal YouTube stuff, and then she was also doing stuff for KCON, like behind the scenes stuff, right? So when she would do her like regular content on her YouTube, she was always bringing in people that she knew, and because of the nature of everything, her circle were all the English speaking idols or like people connected to idols. Yeah. Right. And so Eric Nam was always there. That like always there. Like he was just like one of the like, you know.
Your dog speaks Chinese.
Yeah, that's like I watched that like when it came out. Like
your dog speaks Chinese.
Right? Yeah. And then like also there's like another thing he was on, like Amber and I always forget how to like pronounce her name. Ailey or Eiley. I always
say it Eiley, but I don't know either.
I made a conscious effort once to like remember it, but it's been too long, so now I can't remember.
No, it's gone.
But like her and Amber went on like did a little variety show, like went on a vacation thing, and Nam like showed up for like one night of it, and they all like got in like onesies and started singing the Pokemon song.
Yeah.
So like very clearly like my Eric Nam like first encounters were through Amber, because he was always on it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing like those random like prank videos or like the secret camera videos. They were like both doing stuff to each other, and like so like Amber is definitely like how I know Eric Nam. I just don't remember exactly which video.
No, he's just there. Suddenly he's just there forever.
Also watched After School Club all the time too, which he was in it as like, you know, towards at first, and he was like there forever. So it's like also like, well, maybe what if I just didn't clock him like one time when I was watching that?
Who knows?
And then
will we ever know? Will we ever know?
So the only other layer that I like, the main one that I really, really remember is what Natalia already re-talked about, as far as because it was a big deal with the KCON thing. But so like I was already very, very aware of him at that point, and I already liked a lot of his music. But I don't know the moment I finally figured out, because I wasn't aware in 2016. I was just starting to like K-pop then. So like I wasn't aware until years later, eventually, that Astro's Jin Jin performed on stage with Eric Nam a couple times. Yeah. And that they were buddies. And so I don't know when I figured that out, but at some juncture I also figured that out. And so then when Jin Jin ended up being a guest on Daebak Show, so like I really started paying more attention to Daebak Show whenever some of my faves started being guests. And so when I kind of figured out the Nam and Jin Jin thing, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go look back. Okay, 2016, they hung out together and that was cute. So that was kind of how my fandoms cross-aligned with that too. So, but I already knew who he was. So like,
but why? None of us know.
For me, it was probably straight up After School Club.
Yeah. Honestly, it's probably that, especially in the very beginning when you're not like used to hearing Korean too. Like you'll like kind of really get like you zero in on like anything that's going to be English speaking.
Yeah. And when you first get into K-pop and you just start like Googling or you're on YouTube and you just drop a group into the search, right? After School Club's going to come up and like all, and so like he's just probably, if you're into dramas and you start watching variety shows and you start like he's just kind of always there.
Like it was certainly variety shows for me, because I never really watched, you know what, it was probably We Got Married and I just didn't remember, because
I had a possibility.
Because I had like a really concerning we got married depression spiral at one point. So like
we all went there at one point. Let's be
like
real.
the joke that I would tell my husband, he would come home from work and I would be watching We Got Married and he would be like, "Oh no, honey, like what's going on?" And I was like, every episode of this show, I get further from God's light, but I can't stop watching. Like that was like, and I was just like really depressed watching We Got Married for like to feel any sort of joy in the world.
To be clear, if you don't know what We Got Married is, I'm not going to explain it now, but it's not a depressing show. Like, I just want you to understand, it's not a depressing show.
We'll explain We Got Married later in this episode for people who've never heard about it.
But I thought it would be fun to kick off, because Eric Nam is very much a fixture in international fan experience of K-pop.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Very
just
much.
been there.
He's
I
always
mean,
there.
I'm sure there are people that have been K-pop fans since the very beginning of K-popdom, so I'm sure there was probably a pre-Nam era. But as far as, you know, like, I started in 2016, so I'm squarely in
Solidly, yeah.
Nam
same,
era.
right?
Like, he was everywhere.
Well, there
So-
certainly
everywhere
was a
already.
pre-Nam era, and that was pre-2012. So that's the pre-Nam era. Which I'm
It's
gonna
like the
tell
pre-nom and post-nom.
pre-Nam, post-Nam in the K-pop world, and I'm about to tell you
The
about it
eras.
because I'm about to tell you about Eric Nam's life. All right. So he was born November 17th, 1988, which means he's an old fuck just like us. Hey-o!
Hey-o!
Old man!
Does he have a baby face, though? He does.
Yeah, he looks
He does.
about like 22, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So he was
That's
born in
fine.
Atlanta, Georgia, and gained prominence in the Korean entertainment scene in 2011 when he did a cover of To Anyone's song Lonely, which then caught the eye of like a producer for NBC who contacted him and was like, "Yo, want to come to Korea and be on this like competition show called Star Audition, Birth of a Great Star 2." But at the time, he was a business analyst, like working for a nonprofit, and then was just like, "Fuck it, yeah, let's go." Like, I'm a bounce, and just like went to Korea and then placed in the top 5. So
How
everyone's
to
like,
not have anxiety? Like me, I'd be like,
I'd be like,
tell
"Dear
me
God,
so."
what are you
I'm like,
talking
no.
about? Absolutely not." And then was immediately signed by B2M Entertainment, and thus began his illustrious variety show career. In 2013, he did release his first EP, but also, more importantly, became one of the main hosts of After School Club, and of also the After School After Show. So they were the two things at once. And then that really, him being the MC of this, really solidified his position as like the guy to call to MC stuff. And interview people. So anytime there was like an English speaking celebrity who was in Korea, guess who got the call to come down and do the whole interview? That's right, Eric Nam. So in 2015, his growing popularity led him to feature Amber Lou's song, I Just Wanna. And then he does a lot of collabs, all right? Big collab guy in the music world. And then released a song Dream with Park Ji-min for a charity. And then was like, you know what, B2M Entertainment, we're good. We're done here. Because he was then scouted and signed by CJ E&M, which if you're unfamiliar is a massive agency. So clearly
It owns
they
like most of the
Yeah.
Korean entertainment.
yeah, it owns
Yeah.
a lot. of
Really
stuff.
funny side note of that. So we bought a noodle bowl recently, a microwavable noodle bowl, and it was the company CJ
E&M.
Foods or whatever, and so it had the little logo. And my husband, he's in a big K-drama watching phase, and I
We'd
guess
love
he
to
was
hear it.
watching a CJ Entertainment so he recognized the logo. He was like, oh, this is the same as the drama I'm watching. I'm like, yes,
yeah.
they own most of Korea.
Yeah,
It's
don't
okay.
like they own everything. Don't worry about it. So after being signed for them in 2016, he hosted SNL Korea, and his episode had the highest ratings of that season. And people were like, damn, we love him. So then almost immediately after that was when he was invited to join We Got Married, where he had a virtual marriage with Solar from Mamamoo. We got married. We'll talk more about We Got Married, don't worry. And then in 2016, he also had his first US single, Into You, with Collage, because he always collabs with people. Always collabs. He's a very collaborative guy. And then headlined KCON New York in 2016. And then also headlined KCON LA a couple months later, where he performed his new song that Tableau wrote, I Can't Help Myself, with Loco, which if you haven't heard that song...
And Jin Jin was on the stage performance of that, too.
Which is... That song is a real chef's kiss. And then he was like, all right, selling out KCON, sold out KCON, not enough. I'm going to start a new talk show on Mnet, the Yang and Nam show with Yang Se-hyun, which was half talk show, half comedy show. People loved it because everything Eric Nam does, people just love.
Cool.
So in 2017, he really started pushing to be popular even more so outside of Korea, because like he's very popular in Korea, like he's everywhere. And then had 3 sold out shows in New York City and Atlanta, where he sold them out in under a minute, which is very impressive. And in 2018, he was then named the honorary ambassador to the Olympics. Why not? And was an interviewer for NBC. So that American company, they needed someone on the ground, right? And there he was. There's Eric Nam, because who do you go to if you're going to South Korea and you need someone who can speak English and Korean to do your interviews? And you're Eric Nam. So in June of that year, he started his big Honestly tour, which had 14 stops in North America. And then was like, hey, why not be the only Korean act at the Indonesian We The Fest Music Festival, where he headlined. And that was also sold out, because people just love him. And then also, very fun little side bit that year was like, why not also release an OST for Hotel Transylvania 3?
Yes, I love that song so much.
It's so good.
It's called Float. So 2019, big year, because he started the K-pop Daebak with Eric Nam show, which then very quickly became literally the top music podcast on Apple and Spotify, and then was like, I need to do.
Going to,
yeah, I know, right? Like,
Yeah.
like it was. Listen, Jessie will tell you more about it, but like,
wow, thanks. Welcome to our like podcast world, sir. And then it was like, boom, he's like huge, and you're like,
yeah. So then that year he also was like, I gotta release more English music, because he said in an interview that like he feels, since English is his main language, he's more expressive when he doesn't have to then translate and rewrite lyrics into Korean, which is totally understandable. Like that is
absolutely
100% understandable. And so he had his first official world tour, which was going quite well. But then it was going into 2020, and
did the panini happen?
The panini might have happened. That really cut short that world tour that was going very well. And so during COVID, he was like, well, I can't stop working, so I might as well write an album with Young K.
Sure.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Why not? So Panini's going on, everything. He's still doing all of his everything he gets up to. And in 2022, he went on tour again, touring from January to November. The man doesn't stop. And guess what? He's on another world tour right now as we record this in 2023. He has also, in 2022, left C&M Entertainment to be a free agent, technically, but untechnically, because he has his own company with his 2 brothers. And his middle brother is his manager, and the youngest brother is the CEO of the company. And they have the Eric Nam company, which is just his personal company, and then Dive Studios, which Jessie will tell you more about later. And then, you know, Eddie manages his career. Eddie, if you're like, wow, that name sounds familiar. Yeah, he also manages Tableau, so, like, it's like a whole thing.
And he's also very extroverted, so, like, you've seen him.
You've
If
seen
you've
him.
seen anything from Tableau or Eric Dom, he's always like, hey, let me get in front of the camera right now.
Very gregarious, whereas the youngest brother seems a little bit more reserved and, like,
the reserved of the three.
Academic vibes to him. So he's also set to debut in acting sometime. We don't know when. There's no release date yet. In a psychological thriller called Transplant. Exciting. And then he just never stops. So he continues to do TV roles for talk shows, comedy shows. He regularly MCs things like K-Con and Isaac. God, it's him and Isaac. And just, he cannot be stopped. The man is unstoppable. I don't know where he gets the energy.
He really don't.
I don't know where.
No.
I wonder if that's part of the reason why, everyone, all the younger either co-hosts or guests or whoever, often his friends, but sometimes they'll just be an acquaintance. And when they figure out how old he is, they're like, wow, I really thought you were younger. And it's like, he does so much stuff. Yeah. Where does he find the energy?
It's like there's like an infamous where he's talking with Jackson Wang, and he's like, yeah, I'm 19. And Jackson Wang's like, no, seriously, how old are you? And then when he tells him he's like 35, Jackson Wang's like, no, bro, I thought you were like younger than me. What are you talking about? Like, what is this?
I saw one the other day. It was like an edit somebody had done, and it was just like all of your K-pop faves telling Eric he's old. Yeah, like everybody. Oh my god,
Jamie, Jane, everybody.
But it's like that's often their response is like, "Oh my god, you're old," and then they're like, "Oh, that was rude." But
he's like, yeah, I am though. Don't worry about it. Like,
but really, if someone told me later on, like Eric Nam has like teleportation powers in order to be able to do, like sure, like whatever thing Kim Wan-hae has, Eric Nam has too. Like. The prolific can do everything.
I bet he gets home and just immediately passes out every single night. Like, the man can't have insomnia. He would die. Like, he'd be dead right now.
He's one of those, like, people that can just, like, fall asleep wherever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also doesn't age. So if they're like, he's also a vampire, okay, sure. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. This tracks. This tracks. Yeah. So, Amanda, tell us about his discography.
It's huge. It's huge.
But not as huge as other shows we've done on, like other groups we've done.
That's true. Yeah.
Like it's
a lot of singles, right? Yes. Like there's a lot of singles and a lot of stuff. Like in my brain, I already mentioned. Honestly, like I thought that was his first album. It's not. I was surprised. Like when we were, prepping for this, I'm thinking, I don't have hardly any work to do because like Eric is everywhere. I know, I've watched, I've read, I've listened to everything. And then I go into Spotify and I'm like, where did this come from? What is this? Like, and there's a whole album that I've apparently liked every single song in Spotify, but like never listened to. But it's because he does this thing. Eric sends out like an email if you're on his list, and it's like, "Hey, pre-like my album,
pre-save or whatever."
If you pre-save it, it like automatically likes every single song in the playlist. So I'm actually going through and I'm like, I mean, it's not bad, but like, okay,
I don't know.
Like, so
they're all pretty much bangers, though. So like,
there's. I don't know. I sat down and started to write it all out, and I was like, my paper is not long enough for all of this, Eric. This is crazy. So he started out with, when he was on that show that I wrote that one down, and he did, for Star Edition, Birth of a Star, he had a single with that came out in 2011. And then, there's his album, Cloud 9. His first album came out in 2013. It's like an EP. There's 5 songs, 5 songs on there. And one of them is just kind of like a instrumental prologue, which is kind of nice. He's got a lot of variety, so you never really know what you're going to get with one of these albums. He's done a bunch of OSTs. Like, he has done OSTs for Let's Eat and Love and Memory, a show called, where is it? There was a show called Flirty Boy and Girl, SOS Please Help Me, Uncontrollably Fond, Men Are Men, Mad Dog,
Uncontrollably Fond. Oh.
Hotel Transylvania, we mentioned already.
Yes.
He did.
Sky's a bit of a fan of the Hotel Transylvania.
First of all, really cute movies, and it's a really good song. So there you go.
They're really cute movies, and it is a good song. You're correct.
He's done OSTs for Mad Dog, for Encounter, for Prison Playbook. Like, so if you're just here for the drama part of things, you've probably also heard him somewhere. Yeah. As Natalia mentioned, the collabs, like, they're just
the endless collabs
across so many, and like, I probably don't even have all of them, because you know how Spotify gets weird with you if he's like a feature instead of it being under his name. You can't always find them all and stuff, but like Amber and Jamie and like all over the world too, not just with Korean, not just with, he's got collaborations with like Indian stars, with Russian artists, like, it's across the board. There's
Timbaland, for some reason.
Timbaland, yeah, just because, you know, hey, why not? I should have a song with Timbaland. Yes, you should. Of course you should. You know.
But honestly, looking at how prolific he is musically, with all those collabs and everything else that he did, it's like, how did he have the time to also
be on 500 shows?
All these, right? And
like at least hang out with him a bit. I don't know.
Right? So, and then he's got some albums. He's got technically 7, although one is a reimagining album where he just sort of did all of the songs a different way. But so he started out with Cloud 9 in 2013, which was an EP. Then there was Honestly in 2018, another EP. First sort of full album is Before We Begin in 2019. Then there was The Other Side, which was another EP in 2020. Then there is There and Back Again in 2022, full album. And I think that's the one that has that reimagined is of There and Back Again. So then there's also Reimagined, where he did all the songs from There and Back Again, but with like a different vibe. Like, I'm going to make it a ballad now, or I'm going to, you know, jazz it up more, or whatever. So if you listen to There and Back Again and you're like, well, I like the melody, but that song doesn't, go check out Reimagine, because maybe you do like that song. You just like it in its, you know, other version. And then this year, House on a Hill, 2023, full album.
Great album.
No skip. Like, that was one that was in my Spotify, like, Spotify, you know, added all the songs, and I went through and I went, yes, Spotify, you are correct. I like all these songs. So, it's pages and pages of just
there was also
and music and music and music and music.
There's also a 2016 EP called Interview, which is probably hidden somewhere on those pages.
Oh, probably.
It's also a good one.
I in particular wanted to mention, now I'm finding this page. He did 2 songs, like, where they're the same song but with different lyrics. He's done that a few times, but he released a song called Miss You, about how much he misses her, and then right afterwards released a song called I Don't Miss You, with the exact same like melody, but now he's over it.
I love the energy of that, because like Miss You is before you start texting your girlies, and I Don't Miss You is after you've had the whole like, you're like, you know what
Yeah, exactly.
No. Fuck you.
He talked about like stuff a little bit in the concert, and he was like, basically, like, there are just times when all I need to do is just like write the song, let it out, and then it's out in the world, and then I can like be done with that like feeling. And so like that's where a lot of my songs come out. It's just that I've gotta just get it out, and it's a song, and then I'm fine. Don't worry about me, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, like that, the collaboration he did with Vault Boy, Everything Sucks, and his verse is like, I didn't, everything's fine. I didn't write a song about my ex today. This doesn't count. Like, and you're like, for him to write that as a verse, you're like, he writes songs about his exes every single day. That's what Eric Nam does. He writes breakup songs. He writes a lot of breakup songs. And then every once in a while, there's a banger that's not. But
when
like,
does he have the time to have his heart broken? Is my real question.
It's also
who hurt you?
You didn't see each other. Was it really a relationship?
Like, again, someone needs teleportation, because, like,
yeah,
he's always on an airplane, too. Like, he's...
Maybe he's like, maybe it's sort of like The Prestige, where he's actually a set of, like, perfectly identical twins.
Yeah!
And it's, like, just two people living one life.
The Nam brothers are actually
Yeah. It's Eric and Ethan, but they're both living as Eric right now. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. In order to have the exact same comedic timing and comedic style, though, impressive.
They got that twin power thing.
Exactly, yeah. Listen, it's the Prestige, I'm telling you, it's the Prestige. Sorry if I've spoiled a, like, 12-year-old movie for everyone.
So yeah, he has a couple of songs.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Gorgeous voice.
So beautiful. Like, wow. Some of the stuff, like, sometimes you listen to some of the, especially the older stuff, I find, he hits some higher, like, registers that you're not expecting to hear. And then you're like, oh, okay.
He's a beautiful singer.
Thank you.
You know what?
He, like,
it's no
lives
wonder.
in that, like...
It's no wonder NBC was like, get this to anyone, stand to Korea.
That's right. He kind of lives in that like R&B pop EDM world. Like there's a lot of like just that like kind of like R&B sound, and then it like will switch to another song where you're just kind of like sitting there bopping your head. Like you're like, oh, this is nice to kind of have in the background.
Every song of his that I've ever played for my mom, she's enjoyed. So that's a distinct honor. Because she doesn't really like listening to music. She doesn't really like listening to music, so...
Just remembered looking at my sheet. There is a Christmas song, too.
Oh,
for,
yes,
for Natalia. Because,
For Natalia's listening displeasure. My least favorite holiday.
On one of his little, like, one of the kind of gamey interviews for one of the, like, magazines or something he was on, he talked about Michael Bublé and all of, like, the different Christmas songs. He's like, man, I wish someday I could release, like, a bazillion different version of just all these Christmas songs. And I'm like, he could. Like,
nothing's stopping you.
I guess maybe money is stopping him. But talent-wise, he could do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
listen,
maybe stopping him is the time thing. Like, I mean, like, I know
that's
he's a
why
twin.
you should put Ethan on it.
We're like, are we at the point where, like, both of those twins are, like, kind of doing too much? Like,
there's eventually too much.
That's why they have to pull in Edwin, their third identical triplet, to pick up some of the slack. We're kidding, by the way. Obviously, he's just like, listen, this would be the greatest con of all time, but no.
But we're just like,
it's impressive.
He's very prolific with his discography, and that's what I'm saying. Even if he had just done music, wow, like it's a lot.
Yeah.
I know, Eric. I'm addressing Eric specifically because I know he's definitely listening to this.
Definitely listening.
I hate Christmas, but if you release a full Christmas album like you want to, I will buy it, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean,
basically,
just like, put that out
you go
there.
onto Spotify and you look at, like, if you follow the links through all of these different collaborations that he's done, a lot of these artists are not as well known. They're more indie artists and stuff. And almost always their top song is the one that they collaborated with Eric Nam for listens. Like, that's their top song. So
they still get
I think
that,
people will buy your Christmas album, sir. I'm just saying. They will listen to it.
With your sold out world tour, I think people are going to buy your,
Nom Nation is very strong.
Nom Nation is really strong. Like,
big fans. Big energy, big fans.
And I'm sure, and we'll get into it later, but I'm sure even fans that kind of maybe aren't even aware of Eric Nam, like, on the musical level quite as much, and they really know him, like, as the host of their fave on ASC or whatever back in the day, or on KCON or whatnot. Eventually you're like, he's just really funny. Like,
great personality.
He is entertaining, just flawlessly entertaining. And there's one way that he described himself. I actually wrote it down because I liked it, because it was in one of those little video interview things, and he was quote unquote correcting like a comment somewhere about himself, and they said he was like pleasantly shameless or something like that. And he was like, okay, not shameless, let's say witty, cynical, and sarcastic. And I'm like, mix those together, that is Eric Nam's like comedic when he's talking about himself. Like, it can come off as shameless, but it really is just a combination of those things.
Yeah,
he's delightful.
He is.
Should we do like favorite songs now?
Ooh,
kind of,
do it up.
Sure.
If we have any favorite songs. Natalia and I were talking before. Before we started the call. It's really hard to pick with Eric Nam. He's got that like really good discography that you just like put on and keep in the background.
It
is great for like if you're having like a party or just like a get together, throwing his like.
It's good like dinner party music, like just quietly
like
playing
just, like,
in the background.
In the background, yeah.
We say that in the most positive way possible.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not talking like elevator music. We're talking like vibes.
Yeah, like you could put just his whole thing just like on repeat or whatever, and just like not worry about it completely.
Yeah, because literally everything's good. You might not be in the mood for everything all the time, but it's all good. It's all going to come around at some point. You'll be in the mood for it.
Even his super early stuff.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Like all of
Well, I mean, that very first song from the audition, the Star Show, is like gorgeous. Like R&B kind of like, he often pushes some R&B jazz kind of. A few of his songs have like more of a disco beat. Like it just, so much variety. Definitely, I feel like we say this for everybody, but there is something for everybody. Yeah. For sure.
Like, I don't normally go in and say my mom likes it, because she doesn't really like any of my music, but she likes Eric Nam stuff that I've played her, okay? Like...
Well, because of kind of his styles, if you kind of run across someone that might not love music, but they might be okay with easy listening as far as just background, like... He can hit the easy listener person.
Absolutely,
Who might not be there for lyrics, might just be there for smoothness.
Yep.
He's great for that. And it's not that every single song is the same, because he has some that are a little bit more jazzy and more exciting, some more heartbreak ones. I mean, the themes and stuff are all different, of course, or some are more Latin inspired. I mean, there's definitely entirely different styles like that he covers.
Dance, like you know, a bit more pop, or just like a bit more like just like a classic ballad.
I really love the song Congratulations.
Congratulations is great.
It's such a good song. Like, there's just something, I can't like really explain it. It has the vibe of most of like the English music I listen to, and I know the song's in English, but like I mean like non K-pop music. Like I listen to a lot of like indie Euro indie dance stuff, and there's something, it's not a Euro dance song, but for some reason it has the same emotive quality as a lot of like indie like collabs do. And the music video is delightful as well. But also the song Paradise.
Yes.
This is also very good.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a really fun, like, boppy song that
Yeah.
he has. Like, that's a good example of his boppy ones.
Yeah.
One that I enjoyed, like, finding through listening to his early stuff. It was one of his OSTs. It was for Let's Eat Part 2.
Yes.
It's called Cool Guy, and it's kind of swingy, and I loved that song.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to this again. Thank you.
Yeah. I really like Wildfire, and like I especially like it now after the concert. It was incredible live. Like it was just he took it to another level. And also like Paradise and Congratulations are also a lot of fun. But I also really like the Encounter OST that they did, The Night. It's really, really pretty if you haven't listened to that. But honestly, like Before We Begin album is great, and also his newest album, House on a Hill.
Yeah.
It's like all of his stuff is no skip, but really like that's like no skip and repeat a couple times with intention of listening to this album. Like he really did a great job on this newest album.
Yeah.
His duet with John So Mi is also really nice.
Oh yeah.
Yoo-hoo. It's just it's very OST-esque. I'm not actually sure if it is an OST. But like it is very nice. So
I love You're Sexy, I'm Sexy. Like I love that song. Like I just every time it's on, I'm like, yeah. But I also love pretty much the whole Honestly album. Like I love it all. Like it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's really hard to like narrow down.
Excellent.
I mean, I like Don't Call Me, which has similar vibes to Congratulations. Like he gets really, sometimes he's in his mopey breakup, and then sometimes he's in his.
He's like, you know what?
He's sassy.
Fuck you.
Yeah. He's like,
fuck you.
You know what?
I'm better off. I'm better off without you. Get out of my life. I'm too good for this. I know that it's so funny because we come on here every time we do a music deep dive. And this is sort of like, and what happens is we're like, listen, there's something for everyone. This is no skip, like A+ discography. And then you're like, this is bizarre. Like, they love everything. No, it's because we keep picking people that we love. So,
right.
This is the real trick, is that we're just like, listen, we're actually just evangelizing to you, the audience, why you should listen to this group we've picked. Because we go in already liking them. You know what I mean? Like, we're really, like, sneaking through the bar here.
It's not like it was difficult when we started talking amongst ourselves. Hey, let's do an Eric Nam episode. We're like, oh, okay.
There was literally not one of us that was like, oh, I don't know. Like, it was like, oh, yeah, absolutely, fuck yeah, let's go. Woo, Eric Nam, let's do it.
Eric Nam is already on all of our rotations. It's not like he's not in our listening.
He's already been incepted into our brains. It was really only a matter of time before he also appeared on this show, since he appears on every Korean show that's ever existed. So, like, Eric, if you're listening, you're free to come, like, be a guest MC anytime.
Open invitation.
Open invitation. Just, you got our email. Like, just, certifiednoonas@gmail.com. Just message us. We'll rearrange our schedules.
We will clear our very busy schedule for you.
Yeah, very busy schedule. Speaking of very busy schedules, TV schedules, that is. Hi, you gonna tell us about some of his television appearances? Woo! Fire segue.
So I straight up am gonna tell you right now that this is not going to be chronological, because the way information is presented about his appearances is not really chronological. But I'm probably going to give you a little bit more broad strokes. I'm not going to give you every single appearance, because all he does is host and guest. That is all. True. Like, that is why I'm amazed. How does he put out that much music? I don't know. I literally do not know. So let's talk about it. So if if you're trying to fact check me on this, because I know there's at least going to be one person that they're going to go onto my drama list and they're going to be like,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm going to straight up tell you. So my drama list specifically, because we talk about that a lot, not just, and if you're not into it, that's cool. But my drama list is kind of like Wikipedia for Asian dramas, essentially. So if you go on there and you look up Eric Nam's page, it's very busy. He's done a lot of items. However, whenever you start looking at the years that it says that occurred, do not be misled and think that he was actually a guest on Gag Concert in 1999. He was not. Gag Concert just started in 1999. Same thing with a lot of his other appearances. He really was not active in Korea prior to 2011. Do not be misled. But that is also why I'm not going to be able to tell. It would have been a lot of extra research for me to date all of these episodes, because he's everywhere. He's probably behind you right now. Like he's everywhere.
No, wait. Why
in
am I?
case you're wondering how Eric Nam fits into spooky season, that's it right there. He's watching you. No, he's not.
But maybe.
We've already been over. He started as a contestant on Great Singer 2. We've already discussed that. So, and we've already discussed After School Club. But he got up to just, he's been up to so many things. If there is a variety show that you're probably familiar with, it is very likely that he has been on it at least once. I will give you some examples. Again, broad strokes here, and I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what year. But, Happy Together, Season 3, Yoo Hee-yeol's Sketchbook, he was on there 4 different times. Insane. He was on Running Man once. Of course he was. Hello Counselor, Season 1, 3 different times.
A crazy show, if you were going to talk about a crazy show.
Yeah. Do we encourage you to watch Hello Counselor? That is debatable. Immortal Songs, which is a very nice show. I encourage you to watch Immortal Songs. He was on that a couple different times. 3 different episodes. I don't want to get into it, but essentially, often an episode stretches 2 different episodes. It's a whole thing. Healing Camp, I Live Alone once, Return of the Superman once. He was a host for Section TV. That's such a ungoogleable thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that is the thing that maybe allowed him to interview literally every single
person in history.
English-speaking celebrity that set foot in Korea. That was my assumption. King of the Masked Singer, he's been a contestant on that twice. Once in 2015, I believe, and the other one in 2019. Just for funsies, in case you don't know, Masked Singer, they have little characters named after the mask that they wear. So he was Hello Mr. Monkey and Broccoli. Those are his mask names. Specifically for After School Club, he was one of the original hosts. There were 2 original hosts. He was one of the original ones. And which means he was on episode 1 to 107. And then he was a guest on episodes 150 and 300. So that's a lot. He's on a heck ton of like YouTube stuff for a ton of other people. So I'm not even going to be getting into that. We can discuss yet again. We got married. We've already talked about that a lot. But what I want to say about that is he won an NBC Entertainment Award for Best Couple with Solar. That same year, I think, he was also in Law of the Jungle Mongolia and Daddy and I. He was also a guest host, and that was his Saturday Night. That was the same year of the Saturday Night Live Korea guest host. Because, he just wasn't doing anything else. In 2017 to 2018, he was a cast member on Wizard of Nowhere, which was one of those travel variety show things where... So specifically, the way this one functions is you get divided up into 2 teams of 6, and with a lot of other celebrities, and you go to another country for 3 days, and you're given missions without money or cell phones or anything helpful like that, other than just, here's your sleeping bag and tent and like hiking equipment. Wow.
Nightmare.
Okay. So
you couldn't pay me enough money to be on a show like that.
Like,
Absolutely
absolute nightmare.
they get missions, and before midnight strikes, they have to reach their destination. So stressful. As far as the countries he was listed on Wikipedia, Sicily, well, that's not a country, but Italy, Sicily, Tasmania, Sri Lanka, and Estonia. So
Estonia. That's where
he got
my
around.
from.
In 2018 to 2019, he was a cast member. This one's going to be fun. Grandma's Restaurant and Samcheong-dong.
Mm-hmm.
So what this was it features 6 grandmas from 6 different countries from all over the world.
Incredible.
They come together to serve their traditional homemade treats in a pop-up restaurant in Samcheong-dong, South Korea. The restaurant was open for 2 weeks. So you have these grandmas from all these different countries, and then you have like the celebrity cast in addition to them, which was Kim Young-chol, Eric Nam, Jui from Momoland, Stella Jong, and Andy from Shinhwa.
The usual suspects.
Yes. So that show was incredibly popular, and it led him to win another KBS Entertainment Award in 2018, Best Newcomer Award for Variety. Which, like, was he really a newcomer then? We'll say he was a newcomer on KBS at that
He was a newcomer to this award, yeah.
Yeah, like, he got an NBC Entertainment Award in 20... Anyway, funny. So, he also, like, in 2020, he was on... There was a show, Somebody Feed Phil. He was on one episode of it. It's this American travel documentary series. It's on Netflix by Philip Rosenthal. And it follows Phil as he goes to, like, all these various cities and highlights charities and things. So he went to Seoul. Who was there to talk to him? Eric Nam was there to talk to him.
I swear Eric Nam's just, like, at the airport, like Mickey Mouse in the Orlando airport when you get off, and Eric Nam's like, hello, it is I, Eric Nam.
It is I, the ever-present Eric Nam. The same year, so in 2020, he also was in Doing the Most with Phoebe Robinson, season 1, episode 10. Again, there's a heck ton of, like, interview shows, like Show to Review with Jessie, like, all of his, like, Y-teen, I mean, there's a massive quantity of things that I'm not listing. We said ISC in passing. Idol Star Olympic Championships, which they're not as prolific now as they used to be, but they used to be everywhere, and it's where idols from various groups would compete in all these very precarious sports, because evidently we want to just really have people who dance possibly injure themselves. I don't really...
The insurance was a lot more lenient back in the day. Like, they were covering all sorts of
Some of the groups were, like, actively, like, getting ready for comebacks, too.
Right,
like, that's the bizarre thing about it. Yeah.
Like, here, let's have them wrestle. How about we not? Like,
Yeah.
not a great idea. But of course he was hosting all types of things for that. I'm gonna scroll through here and see if there's anything else. Oh, Please Take Care of My Refrigerator. That's a big popular one.
Great show.
That is a great show, actually.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
The people who love that, they love it a lot. Let's Eat Dinner Together. Life Bar.
At least he's getting fed, too, so we know at least he's
That's true.
eating, so we love to see it.
In 2019, he did 2 Days, One Night, one time as a guest. That's a big one. Again, a lot of the stuff with Dive Studios, which we'll get into that. But, so, there's going to be things I missed. You can come at me in the comments if you wish. It's fine.
No, listen, it's so prolific. Don't at Sky in the comments.
No,
You
just
can.
talk about your own
Prolific.
work. Listen,
Yeah.
we just, like, gave you the, like,
A
path, and you can
jumping
just,
off
like, find
point.
new stuff. Yeah.
And it's like, listen, the man was GQ's Korea's Man of the Year in 2016. There's a jumping off point for you. You can just...
Yeah, so 2 of the little shiny awards, there was that you just mentioned, 2016, GQ Korea Man of the Year, and then Forbes 2017, 30 under 30. I think I didn't write the rest of it. I think it was Asia specifically, like 30 under 30.
30 under
Asian.
30 Asia. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, side note, just to connect to the music thing, So we already talked about the 2 awards he got for like variety show type appearances. He was nominated for 2 other awards, music side of things. Nominated Mnet Asian Music Awards 2016 for 2 different ones. Best collab with Wendy for Spring Love, and then best vocal performance male solo for Good For You. So.
I hope he wins an award for House on the Hill, because that
Oh yeah,
It's so good.
Chef Kiss.
I just, as far as if you're going down the Eric Nom rabbit hole on YouTube, you will just find there will be no end to the nom.
No.
Yeah.
Just prepare yourself.
Yeah.
yeah.
And while doing
It's
that,
a lot.
and while doing that deep dive, let's take it over to Jessie. Listen, I'm on a roll tonight, everyone. I'm on a roll.
Yeah. She's on fire. Honestly, she's on fire. Anyways,
It's very hot here.
So Dive Studios, we're going to talk about that for a little bit. So Dive Studios is the kind of like they're very vague in their like description of what it is, but it's kind of just like a blanket entertainment company that like connects fans of K-pop with the entertainers and the people who are entertaining them. That's essentially what it is. So it was founded in 2019 by his brother, technically Brian, because he had gone to Korea to visit Eric and was really into podcasts and was like, you should do a podcast. I think it'd be really great for you to do a podcast. And so like he finally convinced Eric to do the podcast, and that's kind of when they started the company. So it was like they started with him doing the podcast, which is the K-pop Day Box show, which if you haven't listened to it or watched it, in the very beginning, it was very much like a normal radio show that you would like hear any other idol doing. You know, if you like follow K-pop, you know that a lot of idols do radio shows. So he would essentially talk about a couple of the new releases of the week and play clips of the releases and like talk about the show a little bit. And like he did kind of like emphasize like saying like the Korean titles for all the K-pop songs and kind of translating them literally too. So there was this kind of little like bridge in between the Korean and the English side, but it started with that and then it's kind of like devolved to stuff. So that was really the first thing that he did with the company. And then they kind of decided to keep up the momentum and start like adding more stuff. And that's also around this time the third nom brother was added. So like all three are all the brothers are on this. And Brian, I found an interview with Brian, and he had a quote about the starting of Dive Studios, because they were talking to him about like what's it like to be like a CEO, like with your brothers and being so young and that sort of thing. And his quote was, I think Dive was like multifaceted in terms of why we chose to start it. But I think a big part for me was like, how do we create content from artists that feel real and authentic to them? I think K-pop traditionally, when people think about it, has been very label controlled. There's so much protection and so many layers behind these artists that we don't get to see. So they're kind of trying to like bridge that gap between the two, using his famous brother, Eric Nam, to kind of help things. I mean, they talk about it all the time. It's not like a
secret. Yeah. They're all very honest about it. Like,
yeah. So I'm going to like list quickly the podcasts they have on the site. Not all of these are still up and running. Some of them have multiple seasons. Some of them have like stopped and then paused for a while and they came back and stuff. But like, this is kind of the general like thing you can get when you actually like go into Dive Studios on the podcast level. And all of these have audio and video components to it. So you can listen to it, but there's also YouTube videos of everything. So you have the K-pop Daebak show. There was the Unboxing with Jinjin and Kino, which was about on unboxing honest stories that haven't been shared. The one of like the most long running series is Get Real.
Yeah.
Right now it's with Ashley, Junie, and Peniel. Earlier seasons have BM and PH1 in it. It's probably the one that we've talked about maybe the most on this podcast too. We reference it because they're all idols. So they kind of just like talk about like random things. They have guests. A lot of the time it's them talking about just like idol life in general, and especially like idol life as English speaking idols. And you have the Tableau podcast with Tableau, which is so good. I wish he was still doing it, but back. I get it. But it's just like, how do you explain this podcast? It was basically like just Tableau talking about random things and mostly about his like geeky side, but like he also got into some like really deep conversations. And there's a couple of episodes where he actually talks about, we're not going to go like into it on this because it's the Eric Nom like episode, but there was an incident in Tableau's past that was really terrible, and he goes into detail about that and how it affected him and his family. But like also like he goes into like his daughter who like, you know, is known because of like Big Bang and stuff, like, so it's like it's a bunch of different things. It like if you're looking for a podcast to listen to, start on Tableau.
There was literally like I was taking a bus once and I was listening to an episode that had Eddie on it, okay, Nom's brother, where they were talking about how Eddie had booked him on this like Star Wars podcast. I was laughing so hard. I looked like a crazy person. Like people were staring at me like with concern because I was
so
crying,
like,
laughing.
Yeah,
it's if you're gonna listen to any of the stuff, like do the Tableau.
Yeah, it really is. There's also Beauty Bar with Stephanie and Joan. Stephanie is a model. She is married to what's his name? A rapper. I can't remember his name. And then Joan is a YouTuber. So their like podcast is basically about like just like beauty stuff and just like taking care of yourself and stuff, because that's Joan's focus is very vlogs, but like beauty centric vlogs too. So that's kind of how it was. Another personal favorite podcast was the How Did I Get Here podcast with Jay, and then later it became Jay and Alexa. And that's a lot of fun. They just talk about random stuff. Like, honestly, it's just random stuff that, like, Jay thinks of. They talk about it. But they also do kind of, like, go in. And when, like, he started to get Alexa on more, they started talking a lot more about, like, being idols and stuff. So there is some, like, deep dives into that. There's a Pentagon did the Jackpod, which is just, like, their full season podcast. You also have Nonsensical with Sam, Dave, and Soul, where they kind of like just like amongst themselves, and sometimes they invite friends, and like just like discuss stuff and debate stuff and just like random stuff, because they're all non-idol people who are in the entertainment or big in YouTube who like now thoroughly live in Korea. And so they've got like kind of like discussing that, but like also like Sam's talking about his kids and like it's got like a kind of like just like random discussions. You have Commit or Quit with the Nom brothers. It's all three of the brothers. They take like a movie or a show and watch like a couple episodes or a little bit of the show and discuss whether they should keep it up or not. You have the What Would Jamie Do with the Jamie Park, who used to be on JYP. She's soulless now. She's on a bunch of stuff, but it's like basically her, like she's just as an advice show. Eric Nam also has another podcast that's called I Think You're Dope, and he just like has conversations with people he finds dope. That's why he called it that. And then you have Cheers to What's Next with Jamie, DJ Raiden, Stella Jang, Robbie, and Field Dog. And then you also have the newest one, which is I'm gonna make a caveat. I don't. Things happen with this podcast that I personally don't think you should be listening to it, but like I'm going to like list it because I don't. Fat phobia is not a thing that I I'm okay with ever. And things happen with this, but they have Unbelievable with Ten and Yang Yang from Wave V, and then Heejun, who is something
a problem
in Korea.
Yeah.
A problem. But that's like the newest one. So like that and the Get Real are probably the ones that you're gonna see the most of, and then like Eric Nam's show where he starts to interview a bunch of stuff. They also started to do this like series called Idol 42, which they would let like an idol group kind of take over for a season. And they only did 3 seasons of that. So they had CLC on for one time, very, very, and 6 or CIX. I don't know. I don't know how they. Yeah.
Whichever one it is the right one.
Yes. And so like the thing that makes it different, and also that Pentagon one, the thing that makes these different is that like all the other podcasts on this are strictly English. Like sometimes maybe they have like an interview with someone who's like doesn't know English that well. But like it's mostly English. But these Idol 42 ones were not in English because of the groups. So if you couldn't listen to them like auditory, like you had to go on to the the YouTube and watch the subtitles. But Dive Studios also does like 2 other kind of like major things. First, Sky like briefly mentioned is Whiting is their like variety show. Essentially it is Eric Nam taking the variety show concepts of like Running Man and all those like type shows and taking a lot of the people from the podcast and doing like a season where they like do games and like compete against each other, and you know there's a winner. It's everything that you like know of, and like you see other idols doing, and I mean they're all idols, so they also like have done it with their like respective groups just in Korean, so now they get to do in English. But their other like major thing that Dive Studios has is they have this like website community app called Mindset, and it's a self-care app that they started in 2021, and they describe it as a daily self-care and wellness platform with a library of authentic and intimate audio collections from your favorite artists, and it's designed to make daily self-care easy, accessible, and normalized through storytelling and story sharing. So essentially what it is it's a like paid service where you get to have like a profile and be able to join this community where like you can talk to people or like discuss things or like maybe like share something that like good is happening so that people can like give you feedback or like be like, yeah, that's like good on your journey. And you also kind of have these like personal things that you can do with your profile where you can like account for things daily. So like maybe you want to account for your mood daily, so it tracks your mood daily, or like how you're feeling, that sort of thing. And then also has additional content from different artists where they are talking about their own mental health issues or like times when their mental health was not well.
That's so nice.
And it really is cool. And like Eric has talked about in some of his interviews where he does say that he really wants to like focus a lot more, like if he isn't doing like musical stuff, he wants to be on this kind of side of like doing like good work. And I think this is part of that. And so like there's like a lot of interviews and series and stuff of just like not just like idols but like random celebs and stuff, because of course Eric Nam knows everybody because he did their press junket. They do like interviews or like talk about stuff or kind of like give good advice or give words of encouragement to people. And then so like you have like all of that, and then you have the community, and you have this like personal side to the app, and it's kind of all in one thing. And so that like really like combines all of Dive Studios. I'm sure they have more like they're wanting to do in the future. But this is kind of the thing that like they like focus on. They like have a lot of like podcasts that are English speaking idols, like connecting you with other things. And you do get some like really cool like conversation where like they're just talking about random things. I mean, like Ashley talked about a lot of stuff with like how she got into ladies code. That's like super fascinating that she never talked about when she was like fully an idol too. So there's some ones that are definitely worth a listen.
I think even if you're not into K-pop at all, like Get Real, a lot of the time what they're just talking about is being raised like Asian in America, like
absolutely,
you know, and just talking about. So I think that's really interesting, and for some people maybe listening to us, that would be really relatable, even if they're not in the music side. Maybe it would be cool for them to, you know, they'd be like, oh, there's a podcast where I can listen to other people who maybe have similar experience to me, being, you know, with immigrant parents or, you know, whatever. So
yeah, and they also like talk about like just other things, just like kind of general life things. I think that like maybe like if you were a younger viewer that you'd get something out of too. Like in a way, like it's like I think we like, especially with the younger kids who get like kind of obsessed with things, they kind of look up to people like the idols, and so like they do have a lot of like normalized conversations about things that I think like could be like beneficial to someone who's younger viewing it too, because it's just kind of like be like that thing like, oh, they're just like us, but really like it kind of like helps to have like see that from some people that you like really look up to.
They do those like sometimes they have questions from listeners and stuff that they'll talk about and answer. It kind of has a very like older sibling, older cousin kind of vibe, like coming into your life and being like, or like, yeah, go for it, or stay in school, you know, don't do drugs. Like, and you're like, okay, cool.
make good life choices. Thumbs up.
Yeah. But also Eric interviews a lot of people, and he really is a good interview.
He is.
So if you're like wanting like, and it's like a wide range of like people too. So like, I mean, like you have members of like all of my favorite groups have been on Eric's show, like, or at least like some members. So like there's members of 2PM, like Nikun and Tech have done stuff. Members of Dreamcatcher have come on to do stuff. EXID has come on. Like there's just, it's like constantly like top people, and it's just because he's just like so well known. Like Stray Kids was on too, like a couple months ago. He's just like so well known, and like also they all like probably he already interviewed them at After School Club, so they're like, might as well do this thing for you.
It was so funny when I was watching some of the, you know, I was looking at a lot of YouTube stuff of Eric Nam, and so one of the little like magazine interviews things, it was back like 2020-ish, so Daebak show was kicking off a lot still. Like it was pretty popular, but as far as like he still hadn't had a ton of different groups on yet. So he was talking about how he had recently been a part of the K, like he was talking about when he was interviewing people in the KCON online space, ATs and Stray Kids specifically, and how they were being, because he had already talked about like how ATs on the podcast, how he was thinking ATs would do good things, how Stray, you know, whatever. And so ATs was like, when he met them in person for KCON interviews, ATs was like, we know, we haven't been on your show yet, but we've really heard about it. And so then Eric was trying to be very, well, you can come on the show too. And same thing with Stray Kids. You guys, you know, you're mentioning, you can come on too. And of course, at this point, they've definitely been on, if not a couple times now, like, you know, but it was kind of funny. Like, he's now like gathered all of the people at this point.
He really is. He's like, just let's put everybody in my pockets. Like, like I'm just gonna keep on grabbing people. They're gonna come to me.
Well, I think he's just like, he's an excellent communicator. Just brilliant. As far as the fact that he went to school for like international business, I'm like, the fact that you weren't like broadcasting or something, you're so good, dude. And of course now he's way used to it, but as far as like he's so good.
Some people get all the talent. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
What really sets him apart is his interview style and the questions that he picks. Like, not a lot of people do that, and I don't know if it's because he's in a unique position where, like, he's, like, knows the system of idols, so he knows how far he can go, as opposed to it just being some, like, you know, like, random person from Rolling Stone interviewing a K-pop idol group. It's a little bit different. But he's talked about how one of the, like, not just because he was English speaking did he get like all these like interview gigs. He talked about how like he has like mostly positive like feedback from stars when he does the press junkets, because like they don't know who he is really when they come in. They're just like promoting their like, you know, their thing, and they're in a different country, and most people are, you know, speaking to them in a different language with the translator and stuff. And they've come up to him and be like, that was like legitimately one of my favorite interviews just because of what you like asked me. So I think he just like does a really good way. He's really good at picking the like questions that he's going to pick, and they don't seem cookie cutter, and they don't seem like even like cookie cutter in the way that like it's like his last interview on Dive Studios stuff. Like he can get like some different things out of people that you just like never hear about, and it's like stuff that you want to like hear about too.
Yeah,
like the tech or interview is great because it's like stuff I've always wanted to like know about, like some of his choices in acting, and like Eric gets it out of him, and it's like very free and open, and so it's just like you get like a lot of like really interesting things and facts that you've never like heard from these idols. And like Tech is a little bit different because he's like, you know, not part of JYP anymore, but like it's not like all these idols aren't still connected to their main like company. So it's not like he's doing anything that's like weird in that like he's only getting them because now they're like out of like the hands of their company.
Right. But also it's charming when he talks about, because his Venn diagram of his career with all these idols is like a circle. Like, so Jinjin as just an example. Is he super, super close with Jinjin? No. But as far as have they done a couple things together, and so they have a past from a handful of years ago, and so
Jinjin,
whenever
like,
they have
grew up with him, right? Like that's like really kind of like what it is. It's like a lot of these like people went on to ASC when they were like fairly long, or like
very like just debuting. Like
they were babies, and like it's like a complete circle because now they're like, oh, look at us.
He incepted them from the beginning too.
And so Jinjin is an example, an idol that used to probably barely speak English at all, and since then he's been studying English a lot, and so now each time he ends up talking with Eric Nam on one of the Dive Studios things, it's like, how far are you on English again? He's like, I'm gonna test soon. So it's the way these people grow, he has seen all these people so many times.
And he also like he
remember
stuff.
He still remembers them genuinely.
And he genuinely has like he makes the like interview comfortable. You can like see the way that like he will position stuff, and if he like even thinks that like maybe like they're having trouble like forming the words, or it's just like they, you know, don't like have the question or the answer to the question, he like redirects it immediately. It's like whatever, we're not gonna do that or something, or like he's very open with like, because some of the people that come on aren't fluent in English, but they feel that like maybe like a responsibility because the show is in English that like they have to like speak, and he's very, very open with being like, you know, no, like if you need to do sections of this in Korean, go for it. We'll switch it and we will put the subtitles up. And like he makes like a very like inviting, comfortable spot for people, and I think that's like also where like people are like really getting it, like why he can get these great interviews is because they genuinely are feeling like they are like in a safe place to do these, and so you're getting authentic like answers to these questions because it's an authentic conversation. It's not just them doing this because it's a job.
And like he'll, like you said, he'll redirect if it seems like they're uncomfortable with something, but he'll also just like re-ask, like, but in Korean or something. Yeah. And then it'll just like, I'm thinking about like the interview with him and Jackson, and it just went back, like it was English, and then Jackson would say something in like Mandarin, and then he'd be like, I don't know the word in Korean or English right now, it's this. And then like, like Eric would say something in Korean, he'd be like, yeah, like that, but yeah, and it would just, all of a sudden they'd be talking in Korean, and then they'd go back to English, and then and it just felt very natural and normal, like
the bilingual
dudes
conversation,
chatting, right? And getting the words out the way they needed to. And it's so good. It's so fun to watch.
One shout out that I want to make sure that we mention, because we've talked amongst ourselves before. I believe her name's Diane.
Oh, Diane, the producer. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She's delightful.
So she pipes in with a lot of questions towards Eric at various times that make sense for the shows and stuff. And she's just an absolute delight. Like, she's great.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric.
They have a good rapport and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, really, if you're looking for some really great content to put on and enjoy, he's got that. If you're looking for some nice vibey music, he's got that. If you just want to watch someone really MC a sports, a bunch of non-athletes do sports, he's got you there too. He's got it all. He's got it all. And
hopefully we'll get to see him in a film soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm really excited, but we'll see.
And if you like stopping by and tickets are still available, like
you should go
in
see
your area, yeah, definitely go see it. It's a good show. And he has some openers, and they're different in all the areas, so check those out too.
So yeah, this has been us just chatting about the man, the myth, the legend, Eric Nam. The Nam. We hope you enjoyed listening to it, and we hope that you go check out some of his content, because there's more than you would think humanly possible, but it's there.
And most of it is in English. So it's like super accessible.
It's super great for us North Americans. So anyway, thank you for listening. You can listen to us wherever podcasts can be found, and all of our episodes are also on YouTube. If you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/certified Noonas and join the Certified Found family. They're our family on the web. They're wonderful, and we have little extras and stuff for them. So we hope we have a good time with the Found family. And if you need links and time codes and stuff, you can go to our website certifiednoonas.com, where every single episode we've ever done has its own post, where you can not only listen to the episode, you can see time codes and any pertinent links that are there. So it's an extensive website, okay? It's very extensive on Noonas specific information. So anyway, we hope you have a great week. As always, wear a mask, wash your hands. COVID be wildin' out there, everyone. It be wildin'. I know that everyone wants to pretend that it's over, but we're here begging you, please. We want you to listen to this podcast for years to come. It's hard to do that if you've been killed by a horrible disease. So please take care of yourself and think of others in your community and act accordingly. And as always, just go check out some Eric Nam, and he would say the same thing, okay? He would want you to stay safe so you can come to his shows.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially listen to his latest album, House on the Hill.
Yeah, House on the Hill. It's incredible. Anyway, we hope you have a great night. We'll talk to you later. Bye!
Bye!